This week on the show,
I started doing lessons in the city, and I started taking classes that had showcases, and I actually got representation when I was younger. I was luckily very cute, which is, I think, one of the most important things for, I was chubby and had long hair and like this little gap tooth. I was adorable. I was fortunate enough to actually get to work, and I got to do 2 or 3 movies, and I did 2 or 3 off-Broadway shows, and I got to, so I got a lot of experience early on, which I'm very grateful for. But I also was lucky enough to not succeed enough to stop working or stop trying to do new things.
Jared Palmer Kirsch.
We were singing for one of the Shakespearean shows we were doing, and one day we all nailed the song, and the entire ensemble was really excited. So on the last note, we were kind of overly excited, and we sang the note really bad. So it was supposed to be nah, but we were nah. And then the teacher, and he's this British old Vegas, please don't do that. We literally could not stop saying that. We just every single time anyone did anything wrong for the rest of the year, we were all just please don't do that.
Comedian, actor, writer, director.
Well, having family, friends, and a therapist who you can talk to is really important. Therapist is really good. And not everyone has access to any of those 3 things. Some people only have access to 2 or 1 of them, and some people have access to none of them. So I'm really privileged in that sense. But I think don't keep it all to yourself.
No.
It's okay to share things with people. No one has to go through anything on their own. Because there's so many things we have to do individually, but making art is not one of them.
Let's talk to Jared Palmer Kirsch on the Very Creative Podcast. Jared Palmer Kirsch, how's it going?
Good. How are you? How's it going?
I'm good. Where are you right now?
I am in New York City.
Wow.
East Village.
I'm so jealous right now. I'm really jealous. Yeah.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Montreal, Canada.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Nice.
Yeah. I'm here. Well, it's Canadian winter. If you don't know what that is, it's very cold. A little like New York, but
I tried to go to Canada once in January. And it was apparently it was the biggest snowstorm Canada ever had. It was 2 years ago in January. And I got stuck in Albany, New York. That was as far as I got. So maybe one day I'll make it up there. But
no, you're better off. Have you ever been to Canada?
I went a couple times when I was younger. I've never been later than the fall.
Oh, okay.
So it's always been pretty warm when I've been. But I do want to try it out. See what's up.
I've been to New York in, I think, December, and not this December because traveling is a bitch right now, but I'd love to. But it reminded me of Montreal, honestly, but maybe not as
the
cold.
Weather.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a little, but it's a similar city, New York to Montreal in terms of weather. Honestly, I've been to a lot of places in the States, and it's the spot where it's the most similar.
Absolutely.
And we're next to each other, so it makes sense,
Yeah, I think the thing with I'm from New Jersey originally, and I think the thing with New York and New Jersey is it's the difference between summer and winter is the worst difference of anywhere I've ever been ever. During the summer, it is actually unbearable because it's humid. Because we're right next to the ocean, so it's really humid and really hot. So it's 90 and humid. And then during the winter, it's just freezing and a tundra. And also we're by the water again, so it gets even colder. And then we have hurricanes, and it's horrible.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. No one should live here. It's ridiculous. No, everyone should live. I don't know. No, it's up to you, I guess. But
no, I want to live in New York, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I've heard people tell me, older people that are in the age of 50, I lived there, but without children. That's what they told me.
Yeah.
So I'd lived there maybe 2 years, 3 years, and then we'll see, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I have no children, so it's pretty great
but
for
before,
me so far. But,
that's a point.
but yeah, I don't know if I'll stick around.
No children. Great.
I know.
Noted.
Yeah, I'm at 22, so hopefully none that I know of right now.
I'm 24, so
great.
Let's wait.
We'll wait a few years. Yeah, you can give it 2 or 3 years, go to New York, then give it 2 or 3 more years, and then you can have kids or something.
Yeah,
be perfect. Yeah.
No, honestly, I love New York. It's my favorite city in the world. Beside because I've been to Scotland after that, and I was like, wow, it just changed. But I love New York because of Broadway and everything, and it's always. You always have something to do in New York. You always
absolutely
breakfast places are incredible. Like it's always like it's alive. You know, it's you want to be like positive in that city, and
absolutely.
But people are serious and people are really businesslike, and sometimes you catch
people don't mess around here. That's for sure. And you learn that the hard way a couple times. My first week at, I went to NYU, and my first week there, I was getting on the train and I wasn't paying attention because I was like, oh, wow, it's so big. And I got on the train, I accidentally cut off a pregnant woman, with another baby in a stroller. And she, a pregnant woman with another baby in a stroller is probably like a really nice thing anywhere else. But in New York, she literally said, she turned to me and went, "Watch where you're fucking going, loser." She said that to me.
Oh boy.
I was like 18. I was like, oh my God, that's like the nicest person I'm going to meet here.
Yeah. Like,
we're off to a bad start. No, but people are great here as well. Yeah. So that's why I stay. We're awesome.
What's your area?
I live in the East Village, between like Alphabet City. More Alphabet City, but I technically don't live on a lettered avenue, so can't really say that. But I live between A and First. So
for people like me who don't know where that is it close to downtown?
So I'm downtown, but I'm not like super downtown. I'm like Lower East Side. There's the East River, and then there's the Hudson River, and I'm like 4 blocks away from the East River, and I'm very far away from the Hudson River. So that's the other thing. Like, people are very specific about what section of the city you're in, and if you say otherwise, like, you're asking for it.
I mentioned a couple of times to Jalen Taylor. I just mentioned her on this podcast earlier, but she's our mutual friend. She was my first guest on this podcast, and she connected us. But she told me a couple of times, like, I was like, oh, I want to live in New York. And she was like, which area? She's very specific too. And
there is, because I mean, I have friends who like have grown up here, and depending on what part of the city they're from, like, they're all the same. Like, I have 2 friends who are both from like downtown, like Financial District. And they are very similar. And I know a couple people from the Upper West Side, and they're very similar, but those 2 groups do not like combine at all. And then Upper East Side is a whole nother thing, like Gossip Girl type craziness.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, the Upper East Side is definitely like the more expensive area. I mean, anything by a park is really nice area of the city, in my opinion. I'm lucky enough to live right across the street from Tompkins Square Park, so that's great. But I think everything is really nice in the Upper East Side and very quiet, and it's almost like you're not in New York, based on the New York that, because growing up, you just know like Times Square or whatever. So the first time you go to the Upper East Side, you're like, wait, there's no like Elmo trying to like pick my pocket right now. And that's actually not any of the rest of the city. It's just a 5-block radius of hell in the center of Manhattan that there's Elmos and Buzz Lightyears who are running
around. How many Elmos have you seen in a day?
I've seen, a busy winter day pre-COVID, you could see up to like 7 on a block, and they all hang out together. And the worst is
the Elmo family.
Yeah, but they're really weird because each of their faces are more demented than the last. Like they're like somehow brown. Like somehow brown is the prominent color in their red face.
Yeah.
And the eyes are really close or really far, and you're like, that's not Elmo. And then they talk. And, you know, Elmo has like a high squeaky voice, and whatever dude is in that Elmo costume does not have a high squeaky voice and is not interested in making you laugh, but interested in charging you for a picture. Elmos are crazy. I would stay away from Elmos the most. I also really don't like the people dressed like Woody from Toy Story. Those people are also... I would stay away from Woody and Elmo. The rest of them are like, okay. There's a couple of Iron Mans. I don't mind them very much.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Like, they're not even wearing metal. They don't even know what they're doing. But yeah.
I love New York. Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
So before we go on, introduce yourself to everyone. So.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah.
So I am Jared Palmer Kirsch. I am 22 years old. I am from New Jersey originally, and I've been living in the city for the past 4 years. I'm a recent graduate of NYU. About a month ago, I graduated. So this is my first day back in the city post-graduation.
Right.
So I just came back last night. So
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Scary. It hasn't hit me yet. I did look in the mirror downstairs by accident, and then I got really freaked out and stopped looking in the mirror because I was just like, well, I was holding a coffee, and I just was like, I don't have homework. And like, I haven't looked in the mirror with a coffee in my hand while not having homework. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that was a new.
No, it does make sense.
I'm like,
I graduated. It does make sense.
Yeah. I'm holding my coffee. I'm like so tired, and I'm like, oh, I have to write this essay. But I was like, oh no, I'm going upstairs to just like talk to someone on Zoom, and there's no implications to it at all. It's just chill and fun, which is scary. Yeah. Having fun is scary. So I'm gonna try and do that, but we'll see. Yeah.
How do you feel about freedom yet? Do you?
I don't believe it. I feel like I'm being played right now. Like, I feel like there's like a teacher hiding behind a wall who's gonna like pop out and be like, haha, this was a class too. Like they're like,
it does feel like that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But
well, see. I mean, I've gone to school for 16 straight years, and now I am like no school, like out of nowhere, just completely no school. So I think and also the school year hasn't started yet. Like whatever the school year is for NYU hasn't started yet. So none of my friends are in classes right now. I graduated early, but once my friends are back in classes and I'm not in classes, I think it'll really hit me, because then, you know, they'll not be free because they have homework, and I'll be completely free because I have nothing going for me. But
that's when it hits you, really. Like when you're talking to people on apps or like Instagram, and they're like, what do you do? Oh, I work and and I say, well, I go to school full time. I always like, yeah, that's that's a thing. I forgot about that. I graduated in 2018. Now I forgot that was a thing. And
I think it's probably, I think the dating apps are gonna like really hit me, because, you know, the first question you ask someone is like, oh, where do you go? But now it's not like where you go. It's like, what do you do? And I do nothing. So it's like, you know, or I do something, but nothing that shows up on a tax return. So
well, people will be really impressed on dating apps when you tell. Well, you probably
once you're graduated.
Once you've graduated, they're like, okay.
You're an adult. I know
you finished it. Yeah,
I think in unemployed adult could do really well with like other students. Like I think I could do well with people my age who are still in school. I don't know how well I'll do with other adults who are out of school, because then, you know, just status drops right away. But
that's interesting. But
I don't care about status. So if they do, then that's their problem.
Yeah, who cares about it, honestly?
They're missing out on a guy with some coffee and nothing to do.
But a lot of students and a lot of younger people, once you become an adult, like you said, some people get scared off. Honestly, some people get scared off, and I'm sure you're going to encounter that. But the right people won't be scared off for sure. So
I'm excited to see what the rest of my life is like. It's only a month into the rest of my life, so so far it's been a lot of sleeping. Bachelor? Yes, I got my BFA in drama from Tisch. So it's going to be I'm waiting for my degree. The degree doesn't process until January 25th. So that's the other thing. I'm like, they haven't I haven't officially finished yet. So they could really spring something on me like really quickly, but I don't think they will. I hope not. I paid them enough money.
So how's, cause you mentioned you're creative and, so how's that going, that journey? And, since you've graduated as opposed to when you were still in school and,
Right.
Nothing stays buried forever, especially not the past.
Yesterday is Not Yet Gone, a mystery novel by Gabriel Veiga, host of the Very Creative Podcast. Available now, paperback and digital. GabrielVeiga.com. Buy it now.
I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a comedian and a director. So this past semester, I had the opportunity to just get involved with a bunch of things that are developing this spring. I am currently involved in a couple projects that I'm really excited for. One's called Away From Home, written and directed by a good friend of mine, Cindy Cusick. And it's a web series that is going to come out in February that I'm acting in. And then I'm also going to be participating in a friend of mine's short film called Postmodern Romance, which is going to be a musical film, short film that I'm really excited about. I sing as well. So
have you already shot that?
No, so those are I shot Away From Home in the fall, and then hopefully it'll get picked up and I could be involved in some more episodes. And then the short film is going to shoot in the spring. So this past fall, I've just been, workshopping some of it and doing some of the readings for it. And just, helping my friend Alex out with, hearing and seeing his vision, I guess. And then gonna be involved with that shooting in the spring. So luckily I have those things lined up for the spring. And then I am currently writing and directing and acting in my own sketch comedy web series called Please Don't Do That, which my roommate and I are producing together. And I've been doing sketch comedy for like 4 years now. And one day I looked at my computer and I had like 38 sketches that had never been performed, read by, or anything by anyone. I was like,
that's exciting.
You know what? Like, that's a waste if I don't just put these on something. So I figured, why not make a web series where the only theme is me? Just whatever I think is funny and whatever my friends think is funny. I like to think of it as just like a glorified meme page. I think that's what the show will be like. I just want to make stuff that people can reference with their friends and can have fun with and find their own joy in. Me and my friends have found with like things over the years. Are you familiar with I Think You Should Leave? It's a Tim Robinson. Tim Robinson he was a writer and actor on Saturday Night Live, and he has this sketch comedy show on Netflix called I Think You Should Leave, and it's just super cringy, out of nowhere humor that you watch it the first 2 times and you don't laugh at all, and then the third time it's just so bizarre that you start laughing. And me and my friends only speak to each other now in references from that show. Like, I don't think we've said anything original to each other in a couple of years, because ever since we found that show, we just quote that all the time and speak to each other in terms of that show. So if I can emulate something like that, and if I can steal that feeling that I get from I Think You Should Leave and put it into Please Don't Do That, I think that's the goal for the web series.
Yeah. Where does your title come from? Please don't do
that. That's actually a funny story. I was in my junior year, I was lucky enough to study at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London.
I saw
that. Yeah, I was studying acting, and my roommate and I, he was there as well. That was the first time we lived together, was in London, and we had a professor there who he was our singing professor. We were singing for one of the Shakespearean shows we were doing, and one day we all like nailed the song, and the entire ensemble was really excited. So on the last note, we were kind of like overly excited, and we sang the note like really bad. So it was supposed to be like nah, but we were like yeah, and we all got really excited. And then the teacher bangs on the piano.
Please don't do that.
And he's this British old Vegas. Please don't do that. And we all were just like, oh my God. And we literally could not stop saying that. We just like every single time anyone did anything wrong for the rest of the year, we were all just like, please don't do that. And I was just thinking about how all my sketches that I write are super like, oh cringy. My God, like, please stop doing that or whatever. I'm like, what would that teacher say if any one of my characters from my sketches did any of these things to him? He would just bang on the piano keys and be like, please don't do that. So I feel like it's perfect.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think every sketch I write involves someone doing something that is majorly upsetting to another character in the sketch. So that's where the name comes from.
Cool. So let's just go back to because where did this all come from? The comedy, the acting. I always like to ask people on this podcast, how did they grow up? Because it's fascinating because I know how I grew up, and like it was always present in me, like acting and everything. And so how did that all happen for you? You grew up in Jersey, right? So
yeah, I did grow up in Jersey. I remember I watched your first episode of the podcast with Jalen, and just hearing you guys talk about like, oh, you're not like born doing this thing or that thing. And I don't think I was born doing any of this, but I do know that the first I ever heard of me doing like anything funny or performing anything was apparently when I was like 2 or 3. I created my first joke. Like I told my first joke. And apparently the joke was, I said, how does an eye talk? And then my family would be like, how? And I would say, not very well. And that was my first joke. So that's the story I always heard. So I guess I've been performing and like doing comedy since I was 2 or 3. I did the mandatory kindergarten and preschool plays.
Oh, I just got it. Hold on. I just got the joke.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was the letter I.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. No, yeah. You were just saying there like that's not a good joke.
No, I just got it.
You're just you're like I actually have to go right now. I think I have another guest who actually has something to provide. For those of you who are listening, I meant like eyeball. And
oh my God. Not the letter I. Great.
Yeah, not the letter I. And then the punchline.
No, it's funny.
I feel like explaining jokes are actually like a second joke within itself. I don't like people who give up on their first joke, because I feel like even if it goes terribly, you can then explain it to people, and that will just become, because then you can explain why you thought it was funny, and then the silence of them not finding it funny will just create laughter, but them laughing at you. So if you can't get them to laugh with you, just get them to laugh at you.
No, it's just like, not getting it. I wasn't laughing at you for sure.
No, it's perfect. No, I love it. But yeah, so that was my first joke, I guess. And then I played like the little duckling, I think, in like, or one of the little ducklings in like a little duckling play. I don't know. And then when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I went to a summer camp, and I went to a Jewish day camp. And if you're from like the Northeast, and you're Jewish, you've been to a Jewish day camp,
right?
And basically, you just sit around and you know, play like games all day, and then you do some Jewish stuff too, like I don't know, praying and not eating cheese and meat together. And you sit around, and one of the days they were signing up for clubs, and there was a slot open for kickball, and there was a slot open for the musical. And my friends and I made a bet for like rock, paper, scissors. And whoever lost rock, paper, scissors had to join the musical, and whoever won got to join dodgeball. So I lost, and I had to sign up for the musical, and it was Annie. And I got to play Rooster in Annie. And if anyone's familiar with Annie, it's about an orphan.
It's a bet that changed your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good
and
bet.
I did the musical, and I guess something clicked in my head that I really enjoyed making people laugh, like large amounts of people laughing. And I really liked attention, which is weird because I was very shy growing up. And I really loved applause. And I mean, I guess that as an acting teacher of mine once said, like that's the only reason any of us are into it, because we're all addicted to like applause. Like no one's dumb enough to go into acting who doesn't love applause, because then you're asking for failure. That's the thing. That's what they pay for.
I agree. But that's
no,
true.
You know,
like you search for attention. You search for you love when the audience is into it, and you feed off of that.
Absolutely.
But like for me, like I've been acting my whole life, and it's more like I love the audience, and I love pleasing them, but it's also I have a lot of fun, like making voices, getting into the mind of the. I love evil people. I love playing evil people, and
absolutely,
it's so fun, you know. But the audience.
No, I think the process is like your own personal reward, and then getting to share that process with people, and hopefully they watch it and they see none of the work that went into it, and all they see is someone who's not you. And then, you know, at the end of the show, you get to step out on stage, and you're you after you just were this different person, and you get to be thanked for your work. And I think there's something really, that's the worst thing about this pandemic is in terms of acting, is not getting to share your work with people and see them taking in your work. That's why I think I've always been more interested in theater than film. I think I would love, like, the dream is to be in a room with people and just share this like individual experience and share your work with people, and then immediately like just see how that affects people, whether it's them crying, them booing, them cheering. Just what did you take from what I just did? And it's like a sharing experience. Movies are great too. But you know, I can't be in every single movie theater watching every single movie I'm in, but none yet, but we'll see.
When did it grow from there? Like,
so pretty quickly, actually. I did Annie, and then the next year we did Peter Pan at the camp. And then after that, I actually started doing, I was obsessed with it. So I asked my parents if I could do it professionally. And so starting around like 5th grade, I started doing lessons in the city, and I started taking classes that had showcases, and I actually got representation when I was younger. Yeah. So
that's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. I was luckily very cute, which is, I think, you know, one of the most important things for, you know, I was chubby and had long hair and like this little gap tooth, you know, I was adorable. So people signed me, and I was fortunate enough to actually get to work, and I got to do 2 or 3 movies, and I did 2 or 3 off-Broadway shows, and I got to, so I got a lot of experience early
got lucky
on, which I'm very grateful for. But I also was lucky enough to not succeed enough to like stop working or stop trying to do new things. I was never the lead. I was never being paid a ton. I was never anything like that. I just got to work with a ton of people, have a ton of experiences, but still be hungry. And I mean, you know, it's a 10-year-old being hungry. So it's, you know, it's different than a hungry 22-year-old entering the business, but it definitely taught me something.
What have you learned from those experiences, like working young and getting representation young and just working professionally?
I think it's really awesome that I got rejected so many times before it mattered. Because of course it mattered back then, but it's not like, you know, if you get rejected now, it's like I need to pay my rent. I need to pay my rent. I have now studied at this like prestigious university for the past 4 years.
Whatever it means, right?
And, it means nothing.
But congratulations.
And then, thank you. So, my parents are super excited about that's the biggest thing, honestly, I learned at the university was like, you know, we get a monthly newsletter and they're putting the names up of, you know, alumni who just won Academy Awards. They're not putting, and it's just like, you know, and
I thought you were like going to say, they put my name in it. And that's a good opportunity.
Well, no, it's like, I mean, you graduated, but then it's like, do something with your education. Like, you know, don't seek out winning awards. That is like, you know, not a good idea, but seeking out, putting to use what you've learned and, you know, you get reward later on, and but anyways, I think I auditioned for so many things growing up that I got rejected so many times early on, and I think that was really important to learn growing up rather than learning coming right out of school, because that can break you. I mean, rejection can break you so easily. And rejection still hurts. It like kills, and it actually hurts more than it ever did back then, because like I said, like when you get rejected now, it's like your life. But I think I learned that there will always be another audition. I learned back then that even if I hadn't auditioned and booked something, there was always another audition a week later. So, you know, whenever I have an audition now, I just know if it goes badly, there will be another audition. You know, there may not be another role, but there will be another audition, and you will always have another shot. So I think that was a super important lesson to learn. And I think another important lesson was that there's so many people involved. That's not just all about you.
Right.
Because when you're doing those camp musicals or you're doing those high school musicals, there's 30 of you and you are the most important person. But when you get to work on a film set, there are people who've been there for 3 months or a year before you, and you are just a little cog. And you might be like one of the more important cogs. You're the first person's name who's on screen, and you're the face, and you're the one who gets all the credit. But whoever designed the set is way more important to the project in the long term, or, you know, not more important, but, you know, there's a lot that goes into something, and learning that, it's bigger than just you, I think, is a really important lesson to learn, especially growing up when you think the world revolves around you, because you know your parents are always, you know, taking care of you and stuff.
I'm sure though that I don't know if you see it that way, but when you're in front of the camera, like the audience just sees you, you know, it's that can, like, if you look at it, especially young, you're like, that's a lot of pressure. Like, even though there's so many people behind the scenes that make it all happen, it's on you. The camera is on you. They see you. So how did that make you feel? Like,
it is nerve-wracking, I would say. Thinking back to what you were saying about like doing all the work, like that's so important. Just like just the simplicity of knowing your lines. Of course you need to be memorized, but like know your lines, like past memorization and know what you're doing, because when you get in front of that camera, you just lose it all. You're like, they are watching me and they are seeing like my lip quiver and there's nowhere to hide. And you're trusting your work, which is scary because the work is, it's not a physical thing. It's not a watch. It doesn't actually exist. The work doesn't exist. It just like is stuff that you've been doing and you hope shows up. So it's a lot of trusting yourself, and it's also trusting the people involved and being like, their name's on this too. They don't want it to be bad. So, I mean,
that's what I mean. There's a lot of pressure with that.
Well, yeah, but you can look at one of two ways. You can look at like, I don't want to let these people down, or you can look at like, they're not going to let me do bad.
Exactly.
And so like, I just need to do me, because they hired me. They didn't hire, someone else. They hired me. So let's just, do it. And it's really scary. And then at the end of the day, it goes to the editing room and you don't really have a say in what you put out there. So it's, the editor will make it look good. And I think, but that's what's so scary about theater is it's like 90 minutes of you uninterrupted.
Exactly.
So it's a different world. There's,
and if you mess up, there's no second take really, but you can pick it up the next night. But it's
exactly. But that's just like, that's 90 minutes of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's very different. I'm very excited to get to do more of both as I get older, because it's just, I think I'm excited for my second education. Like I got 4 years of education in one way, and then I'm going to get a whole nother education in the field.
For sure.
I got to do, earlier this year, I got to do this, work on like a PSA thing that they were doing for COVID, I guess. Like a public service announcement. Just something that was like, hey, keep your mask on or whatever.
That's good.
An educational type thing. And I got to work on that. And I was just, I was on set for 90 minutes and it was a no big deal, thing. And it was just experience. And I learned more in those 90 minutes than I probably would learn in like a semester. And that's not devaluing what I learned in the semester, because that's like a mammoth of like, I don't even know what I learned yet. Like there's something I learned first year of college that I won't realize until I'm 50.
Yeah.
Cause it just won't click. It's such a slow burn, but this 90 minutes of like, okay, get in front of this camera, stand there, hit your mark, and then say the line exactly how we want it. And then like, we're going to cut and you just leave and you have no idea what we're going to do with that info. Like just that experience and just like working on that set and getting to apply what I've learned is, I mean, that's invaluable.
But
and then you get to be paid for it too. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. But how do you feel right now with now that you've done some work professionally young and you've learned from that, you've been to university, you've learned from that, you've done a bunch of other projects here and there, you're a writer. So how do you feel about, let's say, you being an actor right now? Do you feel like you've got enough experience and you're less nervous? How do you feel?
I think I am no longer nervous for what I've already done, and I am extremely nervous for what I'm going to do. So if you ask me to audition for one of my professors, I don't think I'd be nervous anymore. I would be excited, but because I love my professors at NYU, but I did 4 years of auditioning for my professors and getting feedback from them. And I wouldn't be nervous about that. What is nerve-wracking is, auditioning for someone who I haven't paid to be in front of, and who is just like taking a chance and spending their free time watching me do this thing and getting feedback from them. And they don't owe me anything and I don't owe them anything. It's just like, what can you do for these people? I think that's extremely nerve-wracking. So I think, but I haven't gotten to experience that yet, or as much as I'd like to. And I will. And that's scary. Cause I also always think about the movie or play or TV show that I'm going to be in one day, hopefully. hasn't been written yet.
Yeah. Just
it just. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. Well, it hasn't been written yet. The writer may not even be born. My co-star may not have even been born yet. My co-star may be in elementary school right now, and it's just it's so scary. There's nothing set right now. It's not like the stock market, which will be around forever. It's a movie, and it hasn't been written, and it hasn't been filmed, and it hasn't been auditioned yet. And it's out there in the ether, and it's just you just got to be ready for it. You got to just know yourself and prepare the things that can help you prepare. You can't memorize lines that haven't been written yet, but you can practice your voice and speech, and you can make sure you're staying physically fit to be an actor. And you can make sure that your mind is very clear and you're reading a lot, so you know a bunch of things that can help you apply it to the character.
That's honestly, that's really good advice. For anybody listening that's in the creative, even for writers, you have to read a lot. You have to do the work. And
I totally agree. Yeah.
The writing is maybe the thing that comes out of the work, but it's not it can teach you a lot of things for sure. But you need knowledge too. You need to
exactly. Yeah. Also, I love what you said. In your intro to the first episode, you were talking about stealing, just stealing ideas. And you were talking about I want to talk to someone who makes a car, and I want to steal how they make a car and put it into my writing or whatever. And I think stealing is so important. Yeah. I had a teacher once who not steal. Do not steal. Anyone listening, do not
I'm
steal.
Glad you clarified.
Do not steal Gabriel's microphone. He doesn't guard it, so you can if you want, but don't steal it. But
nothing stays buried forever, especially not the past.
Yesterday is Not Yet Gone, a mystery novel by Gabriel Veiga, host of the Very Creative Podcast. Available now. Paperback and digital. GabrielVeiga.com. Buy it now.
But steal his ideas. Ideas are just things, and as long as you don't plagiarize or whatever, honor code. But if someone it's okay to not have to make an original thought off of someone else's original thought, and it's okay to evolve. The iPhone, we're now on iPhone 12 or whatever. Yeah. And they're just stealing the idea from the original iPhone. Yeah. Steve Jobs isn't around anymore. They're stealing his ideas, but they're just evolving them, and they're taking inspiration from. You're just stealing inspiration. And I think stealing is totally okay when you're stealing inspiration.
Yeah, and I think the most annoying question, and it's also the most interesting at times, is where do you get your ideas from? Well, from everything, at university, I studied Shakespeare a lot in English. Yeah. Because my bachelor is in English, and and that gave me structure and finding out how to do interesting conflict and interesting characters and how to structure. And I've heard from the editor of Breaking Bad, actually. She said something great advice. If you want to be a great writer, pay attention in English classes, because that's where you learn structure. That's where you learn everything about story, and that's important. Yeah. And then you can mess it up, but I'm just saying, for the basic thing, you need to pay attention to be a decent writer, at least. Right.
Yeah, learning and education is vital. And it's funny because I think I can say this with I think I'm certified to say this. Education is important for people who even don't want to be educated, because I remember I hated school when I was younger. I loved school when I was in preschool. I hated school in elementary school, and then I loved school again. Yeah. And I remember during that period where I hated school, I have a distinct memory of I was practicing writing, or I was writing my name or something. And I said, and my dad, and I didn't want to do it. And my dad said to me, well, you have to. And I was like, why? I'm never going to write. Like,
yeah. Wow.
This is what I want to do now. I mean, like,
wow.
You have to learn. You just have to be open to it. And you learn even when you don't want to. And then one day you'll be glad for it. And you'll be glad that someone taught you how to read. Yeah. Reading was a bitch. I couldn't read. I had so much trouble reading. Yeah. And then once I got it, how would I ever act if I couldn't read a script? How would I ever write if I didn't know how to spell?
That's the thing. You when doing the work, you're like, oh, fuck, I need to do this. It's annoying as fuck. And then you're grateful later. It always seems like you see the thing later, in my experience. And go on.
Oh, I've been watching a lot of Game of Thrones, and don't spoil anything for me. But this isn't spoiling anything for anyone who's watching.
And there's a lot of Shakespeare, by the way, in Game of Thrones.
Shakespeare. Game of Thrones is just an 8-season Shakespeare play. But a bunch of the characters don't know how to read, because it's whatever time period they're in, and it's just people don't know how to read because education wasn't available to them. And then they learn how to read, and all of a sudden they're really good at something else. And I'm just like, man, would they really be out there trying to like take over the throne and killing each other if everyone could just read and read about how much death results from war and how crazy the world is, and if they could just learn about it. This
could be applied to US politics, honestly.
For sure. Yeah, if people would just read and read a lot, they would learn a lot more.
Not only politics, but people.
Exactly. And we're very privileged that we get to learn. Not everyone gets to learn, but I think if you get to learn, you have a responsibility to learn, and you have to learn. Because you have to learn for everyone who can't, so that you can teach them. And
wow. No, but I love this discussion. Let's go back to so you went to, like, you did some stuff young professionally. So what happened after that?
Okay, so then I got to high school, and I had stopped, I was now a teenager, so I wasn't so cute as much as disgusting. I had I had braces. Why do you say that? No, just like, you get braces and it's just like all goes down.
Yeah, I've experienced
for those of you who have braces right now, they will.
It's going to be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, they will come off, and
it's so fucking annoying. You don't feel hot. God. You don't feel
no,
anything.
You do not. Because how could you when your lunch is still stuck in between the brackets? I had braces for 6 years, so I suffered. I did not like having braces, and so
tell me about it. I had braces for maybe 9 years. So
exactly, it's actually horrible. But look at us now; we're both fantastic looking. Especially something else I learned was you get to a certain age and you can no longer be cast, because if you look 14, they're going to hire someone. If you look 14 and you are 14, you're not going to get hired. They're going to hire the 18-year-old who looks 14 because they can save money, because there are thank God there are a bunch of rules in place for children working, where you have to give them breaks, and you don't have to give adults breaks. You can just torture them, but kids, you have to give breaks. So at a certain point I was kind of uncastable because I was 12 or 14. I looked 12 or 14, so I wasn't really getting auditions, and then things kind of fade away with my the agent I was working with, and then I was just in high school, and I was in high school and I was taking an acting class, and I met my current manager. She came to the acting class just to speak to us, and she noticed me, and she took a chance on me, and she signed me. And I'm really, her name's Kim. I love Kim. Hi, Kim, if you're watching this. I love Kim, and she's currently my manager. but I was doing a bunch of, I was being sent on some auditions while I was in high school, but I realized I really loved just like being in the school plays. And I would have to miss, play rehearsals for auditions or whatnot. And I think I realized like, I didn't need to make money doing acting right now, and I didn't need to be famous right now, and I just wanted to keep like going to high school and having friends, because I know kids who didn't get to go to high school and didn't get to have those normal friends. So I was kind of like, I'm just gonna focus on it, and I was really honest with her, and I said like, I think I'm just gonna do the school plays right now. I don't think I can audition right now.
What age were you then?
I was like 16.
Wow.
And yeah, and I mean, I was
basically, because I at that time you're like, oh, you see all these people, and you're like, oh, maybe I want to get famous, and that could be a thing that the pressure of that, and you just saying, no, I don't want to do that right now, and
well, yeah, I was in we were doing a production of the Christmas Carol at my high school, and I was playing Scrooge. So I was in like, crappy makeup, and like they spray painted my hair white or whatever, so I would look old. And I remember I got cast in a film, and they were shooting in Long Island. And so for a week I was going to Long Island at like 4 or 5 in the morning, going shooting. And then you weren't allowed to go play rehearsal if you missed school that day. Because, just like that's the rules of high school. You can't do the extracurricular if you can't go to class. So I would sneak in to play rehearsal. I like made a deal with my director where she would keep it on the DL. Like she would say that like I wasn't at rehearsal because I missed class. And so I'd have to sneak past the high school security guard or whatever and sneak into rehearsal, then rehearse from like 3 to 6, go home, do some homework or whatever. And it was, it was grueling. And I wasn't, I loved both, but I didn't love the fact that I couldn't give my all to the school play. And even though that wasn't something I was being paid for, and there wasn't my career wasn't being advanced by playing Scrooge in the Livingston High School fall drama. I loved my friends in the play, and I loved doing the play, and I loved having my family and friends get to see the play for free. And, I love that. And you
did a really great thing for your mental health.
Absolutely. So after that film, I said like, hey, I just want to focus on this. And I got to be in 12 shows at my high school. We did, 3 a year. So I did all 3 for 4 years, and I would not trade that for the world. Like if you could tell me like, if I was told like, oh, actually you would have had an audition to be in, like this Martin Scorsese film or whatever and play Brad Pitt's son or something, like I wouldn't trade it. I just wouldn't. Because how could you trade these great memories? They're like some of the best times in my life.
Wow.
So far. So I took a break, and
you're awesome, honestly.
I then realized I loved it, and I wanted to be really good at the thing I loved. And so I wanted to learn about it. And I realized I can only learn so much from being in this show that I'm guaranteed a role in, and I'm guaranteed like, the lead, because I'm one of the only men in the high school who does the show. I was like one of 7 guys, and there were 30 girls. So like I was guaranteed to get one of the leads, because that's just how it is. And I was like, no, I want to do something where I'm being challenged, and I want to go somewhere where I'm not the best, or maybe I am the best, but it's not easy to be the best or something. And so I decided I want to train in college. And so I auditioned for 25 theater programs around the country. Christ. Yeah, I sent in 25 applications.
Did you go in person
I went to 12 of them in person. Oh, wow. So I went to like 12 different campuses. I went to Ohio. I went to California. I went to Chicago to audition for like schools at like an open audition in Chicago. So me and my thank God for my parents. My parents are amazing. They took me all these things, and they watched me just like cry and smile, and not fun. And
So are you glad that New York accepted you?
Well, here's the funny thing. I never wanted to go to school
Here
in a city.
Right.
Like I really, because I grew up 35 minutes away from where I'm currently staying. I was like, I want to go somewhere completely different, completely new, and start over, or just like focus on my training. And I don't want to go to school somewhere where I'm going to be distracted. And you audition and you get rejected and you get accepted, and things change over a year. And I realized that NYU was the best school for me of all the schools that I applied to and was accepted by. And so I came here, and my first year I was miserable, and I actually applied to transfer, and I was going to go to the University of Minnesota until the last day of classes at NYU. I got my acceptance letter from the University of Minnesota on the last day of classes at NYU, and I had a really nice last day, and I decided not to go to Minnesota.
Wow.
I had like a terrible year, and then I had a nice day, and I decided to like not go. And I had a full ride from Minnesota, and I I was like, I really was like putting a lot of chips in on this one nice day I had, and I'm so glad I stayed, because of a million things. I mean, because of COVID, I would have had to start over there, and right now I'd be a junior instead of graduated, and like, I would have lived far away from home. I love seeing my parents and my friends and stuff. So there were I'm really glad, but at the time I was like, do I just say no to this like thing I wanted to do? And, New York City's been my life ever since, because NYU is not a college. NYU is an institution in New York City. Like Tisch is more of a college, but like NYU is just like a concept. Really, you're living in the city, you're interacting with adults as much as students, and it's a whole different kind of education. And I kind of wanted to just be with students for a while, but I mean, I'm really grateful now because I'm not really afraid of anything in the city anymore. Like how scary it would have been if I had lived in Minnesota for 4 years and then moved to New York. And even though I'm from here, I would have been like, oh my God, like
your life would be
here.
completely different.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have gotten yelled at by that pregnant lady on the subway. Like
now you can use that in your sketch.
Yeah, exactly. Now I can absolutely use that in my sketch. No, I mean, good for her for standing up to me. Because I was being really ignorant of my surroundings at that moment. I think just like, I would have, it wouldn't have been worse or better to live in Minnesota for the past 4 years, but it would have been different. And I just like, you can't like think about, you can't really regret things. Like it's just kind of pointless because it happened. And I do regret things, like we all regret things, but I always try and like think like, okay, you can't regret that. You just have to like accept that it happened, and you can like be like, oh, but you can't like, regret. And I wouldn't trade like my friends. I wouldn't trade the experiences I've had for anything. So you wind up where you're supposed to. I think there's a little bit of fate involved in all of this. So
it's crazy to think about it. Like if you just chose something else, you would have a completely different life.
So then
nothing stays buried forever, especially not the past.
Yesterday is Not Yet Gone, a mystery novel by Gabriel Veiga, host of the Very Creative Podcast. Available now, paperback and digital. GabrielVeiga.com. Buy it now.
So I had told him, I was upfront with my manager. I was like, I'm going to go away and train for like 4 years, and then we'll check back in. And we checked back in, and now, I've gone, me and my manager are kind of just like, getting back into it now. And, I've had a couple of auditions, and then the pandemic hit, and that put a damper on everything, for everyone. But I was very like, oh my God, I was finally ready. And now like, it's all robbed from me. But without the pandemic, I wouldn't have had the time probably to work on my own project and be like, oh, no one's making anything, or no one's going to pay me to do anything right now, so I need to make my own thing. So I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't be involved in my friend's project. So once again, like, I got all these amazing opportunities that I wouldn't get if I was out there on the audition circuit, going out for pilot after pilot, which would also be an amazing journey in itself. And hopefully I'm going to get to participate in that journey soon. But now here I am, graduated, and I'm fully ready for, the next chapter. And I'm fully now, I'm like open to everything. And, me and my manager's aware of that. And I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky that I had some of these things set up before my education. Because, a lot of people, while they're graduating, are worried about like, okay, but how do I like apply this? And I kind of had a way, I knew how I was going to apply it, and I just had to worry about learning, because I knew that safety net was kind of there. Like, I knew that I had carved out even a tiny little like spot in the rest of my life. So I've carved out that thing, and hopefully it can just grow. So
it feels like, and it's really awesome. It feels like you've been you've gone through a lot, that it has done something for your mental health and for you as a person, that it feels now that you're ready for the big thing. You're ready to whatever that is. Like, but I always say on this podcast, happiness should be the big thing. But
absolutely.
But it feels like you're ready for that, and whatever project, and also, you know?
Well, I'm definitely. I think happiness is the most important thing. If you don't love doing art, you probably shouldn't do it, because it's not going to reward you in many other ways at first. Because right now we're doing this just because like you love making this thing, and I love like talking about this thing. That's the reward in itself. So you have to love it. And I think I'm in a great place right now where I love it.
But I also mean a lot of people go into this, the arts and entertainment, and I want to be an actor and whatever, into the creative field, with I want to escape the real world. I want to be someone else. I want to escape my problems. I want to, and that's great if you want to play a character and everything, but it's not rewarding at the end. It's just I want to be okay with yourself, and you should love yourself first, and that's when you really start doing the real thing. I think.
No, I mean, I think like,
because you hear, sorry to cut you off, because you hear like a lot of like great actors have like mental health issues, and they don't know themselves, like Johnny Depp, for example. And you're like, how can you do this? You don't seem to have worked on yourself. You don't seem to know yourself. You don't seem to be comfortable, like in interviews or whatever, and that's painful. I don't know how he does it,
Yeah. I mean, I think there's just like, I think everyone pulls their own thing. And I think for me, I want to make use of like the past 22 years of my life. And I want to put that on paper, and I want to put that on screen, and I want to put that on stage. For some people, they want to use it as an escape. That's not necessarily me. But that might be me one day, maybe one day I'll want to do something that like I have no idea about. But right now I love
but you'll be self-conscious about it.
Yeah. I love making stuff that I know about. Cause I mean, who better to make something about me than me? That's where I'm at right now.
So talk a bit about comedy. How did you said you like making people laugh at a young age, but where did it go from there and to sketch comedy and everything?
So I always loved making people laugh. I seem to have like a knack for it that I wasn't even necessarily like trying to do. I just kind of was making people laugh. And after a while, you get enough people telling you you're funny that you start to realize that that's like a thing that you're good at. I was just being me. I was just saying things that were in my head, but apparently it's funny to other people. And I started taking improv classes when I was like 10. And I was doing improv a lot. And I'd been doing improv until I was going to college, and I got so sick of improv. I was really sick of like I love control. Like I have OCD, and so like I naturally love control. And not in a weird way, just in like a I need to know what's coming.
No, but I think a lot of creators have that too. I have that.
I think like and I think I was really frustrated by not knowing what the other person was going to do for a while, and you know, improv kind of became a thing that was just like too uncertain for me for a minute, and I got to NYU and I wanted to meet people, so I auditioned for the improv troops, and like I'm like, this is a thing I'm good at and I'll make friends. And I auditioned for like 7 groups, and I got to the final round of callbacks for all 7 groups, and then I didn't make it. So I was like one of 5 people like left per audition, and I didn't make it. I was like, this is like a sign that like clearly I'm good at this thing, but it's not for me right now. So I need to take a break. So I spent the entire first semester not doing any clubs and just kind of focusing on my acting training. And then second semester, a friend of mine was in a sketch comedy group, and I had wound up doing tech for one of their shows. Like I helped out just playing music during their transitions. And I loved the vibe, and they weren't doing improv. They were just like, they were like practicing this written thing. And I had always loved SNL. Growing up, I had been watching that since I was way too young. I wasn't allowed to watch. I remember I was like screaming and crying whenever there was this one sketch on SNL about like these 2 superheroes, and both of their symbols looked like penises. And like they're like they had these rings that looked like assholes, and they would like pound them together, and it was just like the whole entire thing was like, it was like I didn't understand why it was funny, but my parents kept telling me I wasn't allowed to watch it, so naturally I was like, oh, I want to watch this thing. And so I had always loved sketch comedy from way too young an age, and I was like, oh, you want to know, maybe like I could try sketch comedy. And I was like, wait, I don't write, I don't like do that thing. But I was like, I had to write something for the audition, so I wrote this sketch. I thought it would be funny if there was like like an athlete who like kept coming up with weird terminology for like moves. So I wrote the sketch about 2 wrestlers, and one of the wrestlers keeps referring to a move as the rim job, and he just like he's like, yeah, you just gotta like give that guy a rim job. And then the other guy's like, what are you like talking about? Like, please don't do that, you know?
Please don't do that again.
And this guy is just like, no, you gotta like grab him by the waist, like hoist him down, and then like give him a real rim job. And like everyone's like, what? Like, so that was the first sketch I ever wrote. And I was like, wait, this is really funny. Like I found it really funny. And then I got into the group, so I guess they found it funny. And then getting to be in a room with a bunch of really talented writers. Shout out to the people at Comic Sans. They're the funniest people on earth. Comic Sans NYU, best comedy group on earth, better than anyone. And they were really talented. And I learned a lot just from like reading their sketches and because you're reading the sketch and you're like, how's this going to get funny? And that gets funny. And you're like, wow, that's brilliant. I'm going to steal like the pattern of the joke, and I'm gonna steal this idea of a character, like this character who like is really weird in social settings, and like what's weird to me, and so I'm gonna write a character that's weird but me weird. And I just wrote more and more and pitched more and more and got more and more feedback, and then also got to act in sketches and learned about like, okay, this person wrote this thing, but it's actually not very actable. So when I write my sketch, I'm going to write it more actable. I'm going to write something that's super actable and very specific. So the comedy is there. And specificity is huge with comedy. You know, drama is very specific, but comedy is even more specific. And because comedy, there's a fine line between comedy and tragedy, and it's just a banana peel. You know, if the banana peel is like, if you slip on the banana peel at the right moment, it's hilarious. But if you slip on the banana peel at the wrong moment, you've then tripped and fallen onto a spike and your head has like come off, and that's a tragedy. But you know, if you slip and fall and like you just bang your butt, like it's hilarious. Shakespeare is like, Othello is one Scooby-Doo moment of them catching Iago away from being hilarious. Right. It's just a big prank, but it's not a prank because everyone dies. I love that play. Othello's great. It's amazing.
Are your plays as well comedy? Like the plays you write? So
I think my plays are inherently wind up being funny. Right. So this one play I wrote, it's called Summit. And this play is just kind of like conversational. And when I have conversations with my friends, it is funny unintentionally. And finding that humor in words is very different than, when I'm on stage, I can do something to make something funny. But when you're writing, it's all about language. And it's all about putting down the funny, and it just winds up being funny. I think the hard thing for me is not detracting from something powerful I wrote with a joke, because I just have a tendency to make fun of everything. And I'm like, oh, I can I wrote this really personal, deep thing. How do I knock it down? But I think
when it's powerful, you
gotta let it be powerful, and it's tough because I always want to write that punchline. I always want the character to be like, and that's why you'll never love your daughter or something. And I always want to write the like you're one to talk, or like saying like ba da ba ba da ba. I think a lot of it's the same thing of like the fine line. One of my ideas could become a play, and one of them could become a sketch. And it's just kind of like, where do I want it to like wind up? And those ideas can be so close together, like two friends chatting at a diner, which is what my play Summit is about, could easily become a sketch if they wind up ordering something like disgusting, but instead they just order like fries, and it's a play. It's it's as simple as that. And then of course page numbers. Sketch is 5 pages, a play is as many pages as you want it to be. But I think the thing that I loved about sketch was like the immediate gratification, like getting to the plot within page 1 and resolving the plot within page 5, and then you just have like 3 pages of hijinks. I love that. I can't get enough of it. And well, that was also another thing, was I think I was writing too quickly. I was writing too short. I wasn't expanding. I wasn't letting the joke be there. And that's why I learned from my friends who were writers in Comic Sans. And then I also was writing things that were too long, and I wasn't just letting the joke be funny and then ending it. And watching them know the perfect timing and know where to end a joke and when to continue it was another thing that I learned and stole. And has been really important. Whereas with playwriting, you can linger because there can always be another page. You don't want to use up your thought, but you also don't want to not let the thought fully develop, because the thought deserves to be heard in its fullest.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. I feel like there's so much to talk about with you, and I feel like we're running out of time, but because I don't want the audience to an hour.
Exactly. You got, just like a podcast. You got
exactly like the writing. You like too many pages, but don't
worry. You can just have me back every week. We'll just run it back.
No, I was just about to say that. I really want to have you back to unpack all of that.
I'd love to. Yeah.
And I feel like we could talk for hours, but for the audience, we'll just stick to that for now.
For their wake up, whoever's asleep right
I'm
now.
sorry.
Wake up, guys. Wake up. It's the fun part.
They're fine. It's only been an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, if you're asleep right now, you got other problems. You should just
come on. This guy is super interesting. Come on.
I know.
I'm super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't enough that you're super interesting, you got this fascinating character on your show right now. So
exactly.
Very important. Yeah.
So who are your biggest inspirations and why?
Okay. Biggest inspirations. shockingly, it became Shakespeare. I think I just love the concept that he probably wrote too many plays. He probably could have wrote half of the plays and they could have been even better. But he just was like, I need to write like all these plays and cover all these things. And I just want to write as much as I can. And he didn't really care. And they've all become classics because they were just him.
Yeah.
I love that. I am a big fan of Saoirse Ronan. I think she is the ultimate model for how to behave as a young person and how your age does not determine the value of your art. She has been kicking it since she was 12, and she has never taken a role that wasn't something.
That's a great way to describe it. Wow.
Yeah. She is like, she is an example of someone who like doesn't let her limitations of like a number define who she is. And she has continued. And she works with all different kinds of people and takes all different kinds of stories and shows that there are different stories to tell about a teenager than just, and I am so excited to see what she does when she's even older and people take it seriously or whatever.
They're taking her seriously, I think. But
Oh, absolutely. And then I love Joshua Harmon. He's a playwright.
I've heard that
play. Yeah, he wrote a play called Bad Jews, which is the first play that I bought like outside of school, because you had to read plays in English class every once in a while. But the first play I ever bought was Bad Jews by Joshua Harmon, and he taught me how to write about a Jewish identity. And that's something that I think comes up in my writing a lot. And I don't think Jewish guilt is real. And I don't think you should just let it like fester there. I think you should write about how guilty you feel about being Jewish and, write that. And he taught me, that's something I've stolen from him, is how to write about your Jewish identity and apply that. Yeah.
Right. Cool. So is there a writer or an actor that you really like look at their career and you're like, that's what I want to really do, besides the one that you just talked about?
Yeah, well, Saoirse Ronan for sure. I can't be in Little Women because it's already been made. But I was watching Little Women the other day, and honestly, the entire I think that's like not an actor, but a project like that where it's just so many interesting people working on this thing, and it's people who are it's an adaptation, so it could just be boring and it could just stick to the script, literally and metaphorically. But instead, they brought their new spin on it and they made it somehow modern, yet sticking with the period. And just being involved in a project like that with interesting people who are my age. I would love to work with like people my age and develop things. I'm getting that opportunity right now with
That's great.
Away from Home and Postmodern Romance. And then
Away from Home is the Spider-Man movie? No.
Oh no. No. I love Far From Home. Oh my God. Yeah, I would love to be in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
That would be really fun. If anyone from Marvel is going to be watching this, hit me up. I will play anyone.
Hit me up too, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
For writing, for acting.
Yeah, I really love, Ethan Hawke is someone who's really cool, in my opinion. I've been, just seeing the range of his characters and also seeing like how long he's been doing it. And he seems to have this love for it. And it's the same love that you can see in his eyes when he's doing Dead Poet Society and then amazing in Boyhood film. For example, it's 8 years and his love for what he's doing doesn't fade. That's really cool. And
Boyhood is one of my feel-good movies.
Yeah, Boyhood's really fun. And I think that's really cool because that's 8 years of people just like loving it, because there was no money involved. There was no one knew they were going to win any Oscars or be nominated for any. They were just like making this cool thing together. It was
summer camp for them.
Essentially. Anyone who has fun or seems to have fun or seems to love it and hasn't been overcome with all the bad stuff that can come with making art
Right.
professionally, I would love to be them, or I would love to emulate that.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you deal with anxiety? Because you seem to be a person that worked a lot on yourself and your mental health. But when you do face anxiety, what do you do? Because you said you're OCD too.
Yeah. So. Well, having family, friends, and a therapist who you can talk to is really important.
Is really good.
And not everyone has access to any of those three things. Like some people only have access to two or one of them, and some people have access to none of them. So I'm really privileged in that sense. But I think like don't keep it all to yourself.
No,
it's okay to like share things with people, and if people don't want to have you share it with them, then you don't need that person, and you don't need to share with that person. But I think it's important that no one has to go through anything on their own, because there's so many things we have to do individually, but like making art is not one of them. And I'm still learning that, because every time I write something and someone's reading it and they mess up a word, I just want to like, you know, like I want to like freak out, but I'm like, no, they're like helping, and they are participating in this thing as well. And I don't have to go through this alone. So I think the acceptance of that, which I'm still working on, is really important. You're not alone, especially in art. There's a huge art community. Yeah. Even if you don't know about it, start small. Yeah. Meet other artists like Gabriel, and you know, just like like you know, just you know, meet people and talk with people and share things. And it doesn't have to be networky to just like find companionship and discuss things. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I think what you also like, you were mentioning people, you don't need shitty people in your life. Like
you do not.
And especially like in this field, because you want to do something, you really want to become this actor, this director, whatever it is, and fame or whatever is in your mind, you know? And it's really easy to, because you love that person, because you admire that person, because they give you a chance, it's really easy to like let them do whatever they want to do to you, you know? And I think as I've learned, as I grew older, and I'm still learning, because it's not easy sometimes. You're like, you really want this, but your mental health is a lot more important than those people and your career and whatever. Because if you can't take care of yourself, like you're not going to be able to take care of your career. And those people don't matter.
Yeah. Well, also, I think it's really important to like trust people, but also to like, if someone betrays that trust, it's okay to like be aware of that, and it's okay to accept that, and you know, evaluate and be like, is this a person who is going to abuse my trust constantly, or is this just like a one-time
There's a lot of power plays,
and you can move on. Yeah. And I think it's important that you know that there are certain people you're gonna have to work with people you don't like, but you don't really to an extent, you don't have to work with people who don't respect you. And I think respect is an important thing. You don't have to get along with someone, but as long as you're respecting them and they give that respect back to you, that's very productive. And it's equally productive to get rid of those people who don't respect you. And so you can make room for people who do respect you, because you only have a finite amount of room in your life, and like what people and things are you going to fill that with is really important.
Yeah. I think that's really important to say. So feel good game. What's your feel good movie?
Feel good movie. La La Land. Love La La Land. Yeah. I know. Very divisive. Sure.
No, it's not divisive for me. I'm telling you. Like the first time I saw it was at the Toronto Film Festival, and it was a beautiful theater, like packed. It was an amazing experience. Like such an amazing experience, and I will remember that, and I love that movie. I couldn't do anything after I saw that movie. I just couldn't. I was just like, wow. That movie means a lot to me, and I think it's what a movie can be, of just like fun and happiness, and it gives you hope.
For me at least. And so that would probably be my feel good movie.
Okay, feel good TV show now.
Ooh, well, I've been watching a lot of Game of Thrones recently, so that's been making me feel pretty good. But also has been making me have weird dreams about my family.
Right.
Like I've been like having dreams where my family is like the family from Game of Thrones. I'm like, that's
where are you at in Game of Thrones though?
I am on the last episode of season 4. Wow. So I won't spoil anything, but I just had the last episode that I just watched was really fun and I was cheering. So that made me feel really good. And also I've been watching some Gilmore Girls. I love like half soap type dramas, like One Tree Hill, Gossip Girl, Gilmore Girls. Like I love those shows. I can watch those all the time because they're so ingestible. You can just watch and watch and watch.
Have you seen Vampire Diaries?
I've seen a few episodes. I was really scared of Vampire Diaries when I was younger. I liked a lot of CW shows growing up, but Vampire Diaries was not one I could stomach because I don't like blood, so which is fine because I'm watching Game of Thrones, but not ideal. I think I'm getting over it. I'm getting over it because
I think that's their show to get over.
Well, also I think I've seen some terrible things this year, so I think blood is seeming not so bad after all.
Crazy, right?
Yeah,
crazy,
I know.
Right?
I've seen things that are bad that don't involve blood this year, and it's astounding how many of them. So now I'm like, you want to know what? Everyone has blood. It's okay.
Crazy how TV shows are more like less violent sometimes and less. For sure. It's more like an escape now. It's crazy. Like Absolutely. You thought, they did that on that show. I kept hearing before all this happened. Oh, it's so violent. It's so blah blah blah. Jesus.
Nothing compared to right now.
Look outside the window. Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. So, feel good song.
Ooh, feel good song. Anything by Elton John, Billy Joel, or Bruce Springsteen, the Three Horsemen.
That's good.
I got their posters hanging. I really like. I'm sure everyone does. Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. Just like currently, like it just hasn't gotten old yet. I don't know how. I've heard it so many times this year, and it just doesn't get old. Honestly, any of the TikTok songs are pretty feel good. I feel pretty happy.
Annoying too, yeah.
I hate TikTok, but the TikTok songs are like they're pretty awesome. I was Super Lonely by Benet. That was like my jam at the beginning of quarantine. Right. Cause I was super lonely. So it was good. It was like, oh, it's fun to be lonely. Then I got tired of that song and being lonely stopped being fun. So, so then Blinding Lights came on, but, it changes every month, but right now it's probably Blinding Lights.
It's really good. Yeah. No, Elton John for sure. Oh,
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Anything.
Yeah. Well, like I said, please come back anytime. We have so much more to discuss, and you're an awesome guy. Like I'm so glad Jalen connected us because this has been one of my favorite conversations, honestly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Shout out Jalen.
Yeah. Shout out Jalen. Thank you, Jalen. Yeah. So, anything you want to plug before we go, or anything you want to?
No, but be on the lookout for Away From Home by Sydney Cusick, Postmodern Romance by Alex Sennett. Please Don't Do That by me. Just everyone be happy and kind to each other. I guess that would be my plug. For just everyone.
Amazing note to end on. Yeah. Well, Jared Palmer Kirsch, thank you so much for coming on the Very Creative Podcast.
Thank you, Gabriel.
We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Bye.
To find out more, go to GabrielVeiga.com/podcast or find us on social media at The Very Creative Podcast. You can also watch the podcast on YouTube. Just search for The Very Creative Podcast and subscribe.